Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage.
He mentioned me 16 times today in a speech. I'm living rent-free inside his head.
Nigel Farage has reacted to the Prime Minister's warnings that reform's economic policies are fantasy and is trust-like while speaking in Las Vegas at a Bitcoin conference.
We have Keir Starmer, our socialist Prime Minister, is terrified. Do you know, he mentioned me 16 times today in a speech.
Andrew Neil is not just some random person on Twitter talking nonsense. He is one of the most respected political commentators in Britain. So when he accuses a sitting Prime Minister of running a government based on lies, it's a big deal. Neil was very clear with his words. He didn't just say Starmer lies sometimes. He said lying has become the main way the Labour government works. That's a serious claim, and it completely breaks Starmer's image of being honest and trustworthy. Think about it. In 55 years, Andrew Neil has never said this about any government. Not Thatcher's, not Blair's, not even Johnson's. He is saying it only about Starmer. That shows how serious this is. This is not just a Prime Minister bending the truth now and then. This is a Prime Minister who treats truth as optional and thinks the public won't notice. Now the question is, how far did Andrew Neil go to expose Starmer? Let's find out what exactly he said and what it could mean for Starmer's future.
A speech where he mentioned Nigel's name 16 times. Here's a taster of what he said.
Now in government, we're once again fighting the same fantasy. This time from Farage. The same bet in the same casino that you can spend tens of billions of pounds on tax cuts without a proper way of paying for it. Using your family finances, your mortgages, your bills as the gambling.
Labour's social media post proudly claimed that net migration had dropped by nearly 50%, complete with a flashy poster and official branding. But here's the real story. That wasn't Labour's policy at all. The drop came from rule changes put in place by Conservative Home Secretary James Cleverly, long before Starmer's team even touched the issue. Labour didn't drive the car. They just ran in front of it and posed for the picture. This goes beyond normal political spin. It's closer to political identity theft. Think about what they actually did. They took credit for another party's work, packaged it as their own success, and then sold it to the public as a Labour victory. That's not just misleading. It's insulting to every voter who actually follows policy timelines. Starmer is clearly betting that most people won't check the facts. He's treating the public like goldfish with short memories. But Andrew Neil just pulled the curtain back and exposed the trick. And that's the worrying part. If Labour is willing to lie so openly about something that can be easily fact-checked, what else might they be lying about? Immigration isn't just numbers on a chart. It's about real people's lives. To twist that into a cheap political stunt isn't leadership. It's manipulation. It's almost sociopathic. And yet, this is the same man asking us to believe he's restoring honesty and trust in politics. Irony isn't dead. It's just working overtime for Starmer. And lying? Well, lying is nothing new for Starmer or the Labour Party. Just look at their record.
Opportunity. In the last two general elections, you asked people to elect Jeremy Corbyn as their Prime Minister. You said, I do think Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn, did you mean that?
I was certain that we would lose the 2019 election.
That wasn't my question.
I was certain that we would. I was certain that we would lose it. I did campaign for Labour. Of course I did. I will openly say I campaigned for Labour. I wanted good colleagues to be returned into the Labour Party.
When you said it.
And I wanted a party that was capable of being changed so we could face the future again.
Did you not mean it when you said it?
I was certain that we would lose. And I think many other people were certain that we would lose.
So you didn't mean it?
I was certain that we would lose.
So you said it because you didn't think he would be Prime Minister anyway?
Of course I campaigned for the Labour Party at the last election and the election before that, the one before that. I've always campaigned for the Labour Party, and I'm glad I did because I wanted good colleagues to be returned to have their seats so that we could fight for the future of the...
So, just saying this casually, even when you don't mean it, is fine for Starmer.
Horrible level. He goes on to say, in this Starmer government, lying has not become a feature to which it increasingly resorts. It is the modus operandi of the government. He talks about the latest net migration figures showing a 50% reduction compared with 2023. The Home Office tweeted out a poster which said net migration has been cut by nearly 50%, describing it as the largest ever drop in net migration for any 12-month period. He says, Andrew Neil says, the implication was clear. The implication was it was thanks to Labour government policy, but it wasn't. Of course it wasn't. It was down to
Tory
actually
policy.
James Cleverly. That's right, a Conservative policy because of his rule, the rules that he introduced. And of course, he is basically, and really this is worth reading because it is eviscerating, to put it mildly. He goes on to say the Prime Minister has a long track record of lying and gaslighting. I mean, good for Andrew Neil.
He's right to call out security.
Before we go any further, are you enjoying the video? If you are, make sure to hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to our channel for more exclusive updates on the major changes shaping British politics. All right, let's get back to it.
Chris Hope, Chris.
Chris Hope, GB News. Prime Minister Nigel Farage has 5 MPs. You've got 403. Are you panicking because Reform is so far ahead in the polls, it seems? Is he living rent-free in your brain? You went to a state school. Your dad worked in a factory. Your mum worked in the NHS. So why has a public school-educated former city trader got more in common with the Red Wall than you have?
Well, I've set out my divide. I think the single most important thing is to make sure we stabilise our economy.
This might be Starmer's biggest betrayal, the pledges he made under Jeremy Corbyn. These weren't just casual promises. They were called pledges, a word that means commitment, principle, honour. But less than a year later, they were gone, scrapped, deleted, like clearing browser history after a scandal. And what does that tell us? It tells us Starmer likely never planned to keep them at all. He used Corbyn's movement to climb into the Labour leadership, soaked up the grassroots support, and then tossed them aside like old furniture the moment he had power. That's not just a change of direction. That's deception. He didn't just win the Labour leadership. He hijacked it.
I haven't spoken to Jeremy Corbyn for 2.5 years now. So
is he a friend? Was he a friend?
No, I mean, as I say, I haven't spoken to him for 2.5 years.
In 2020, he was a friend. So
he's a colleague, he's a friend, and he's led us through some really difficult times in the Labour Party. I asked for those that have been most hurt by what had happened in relation to anti-Semitism simply to give me the space to show what I could do. I didn't think I could ask them for their support. I said, give me the space to show that I mean what I say. I meant what I said. And that is why Jeremy Corbyn lost the whip when he responded as he did to the terrible report on anti-Semitism that we had, and why he now won't stand as a Labour candidate.
And he was never a friend.
No, not in the sense that we were, went to visit each other or anything like that. I worked with him as a colleague, but as I say, I haven't spoken to Jeremy now for 2.5 years.
This goes deeper than political evolution. This is betrayal by design. The man who once stood shoulder to shoulder with left-wing working-class voters turned his back on them the moment the cameras were off, and then had the audacity to pretend nothing happened. That isn't progress. That's parasitism. It's why so many former Labour voters don't just feel left behind. They feel sold out. Starmer doesn't simply walk away from principles. He turns them into a product, uses them for political gain, and then dumps them in the nearest policy landfill once they stop being profitable.
Country, and that is what we're doing, and we're seeing the early signs of that. Growth is up, the highest in the G7 this year. Interest rates have come down 4 times. So we're beginning to show what happens when you stabilise the economy. And I want to protect working people from Nigel Farage, because I want to protect them from what he will do, which is exactly the same as Liz Truss, which will have a direct impact on their lives. And in relation to the second part of your question, I don't need lectures from Nigel Farage on what it means to be working people. I know what it means to work 10 hours a day in a factory 5 days a week. And I know that because that is what my dad did every single working day of his life. And that's what I grew up with. So I don't need lessons from Nigel Farage about the issues that matter most to working people in this country. Thank you, Chris.
Farage answering a question from us yesterday in Wigan. 16 times you mentioned Nigel Farage's name. Now I've watched...
Well, about 6 times in the answer to your question.
Well, quite.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it empowers him. David Cameron, as Tory leader, had 6 years as PM dealing with the problem that is Nigel Farage. And never said his name in public, or very rarely did. He didn't want to empower him. It's a bit like Voldemort in the Harry Potter films. You know,
He who must not be named.
Yes, you don't name him, but 16 times. So it almost lifts Nigel Farage into an equal of the PM. The PM's got 403 MPs.
Starmer's favorite trick? Deny, deflect, and rebrand, especially when it comes to taxes. Take the national insurance fiasco. Labour claims we're not raising taxes, but then quietly talks about adjusting national insurance. Let's be honest, national insurance is a tax. Pretending otherwise is like saying a fine isn't punishment. It's just encouragement. That's not clever politics. It's semantic fraud. And here's why it matters. Labour is quietly preparing a tax bombshell while pretending to be fiscally responsible. The truth is, Starmer's team is trapped in a financial corner. With £105 billion a year going just to pay interest on the debt, and with their endless spending promises, they can't make the numbers work without squeezing the middle class dry. This isn't a theory, it's math. This isn't rich versus poor. This is about starving the productive to fund a broken system. And when they finally do raise taxes, they'll dress it up as fairness or rebalancing. But the real reason will be simple: mismanagement, overspending, and a refusal to face economic reality. Starmer wants applause for showing restraint, but what he's really hiding is a loaded financial weapon. And you're the target.
I mean, also, so Rachel Reeves, by the way, she came in saying, if you remember, they basically said they would spend, they would raise taxes by 8.5 billion and managed to make it a whopping 76 billion more than that. They talk about a 20 billion black hole that doesn't exist, no one can find this black hole, but it keeps being wheeled out. For a black hole that doesn't exist, it's had a lot of air.
Let's talk about the so-called phantom black hole. Labour claims there's a £20 billion budget gap. A crisis so huge that tax rises are unavoidable. But here's the problem. No one can actually find it. Independent economists, journalists, and budget watchdogs all say it doesn't exist. So where did this black hole come from? Simple. They made it up. Not to fix a real problem, but to create an excuse to break future promises. And it gets worse. They've inflated the tax target from £8.5 billion to a massive £76 billion in projections, all while still claiming they're helping the working class. This isn't a mistake. It's deception by design. Labour knows most people won't read spreadsheets. They know headlines and slogans travel faster than facts. But the consequences are real, and they hit ordinary people hardest. Labour is selling fear just to buy themselves permission to betray voters. It's like telling people their house is on fire, only so you can sell them a fire extinguisher at triple the price. That's exactly what this fake black hole narrative is. And Starmer is standing right at the center of it, smiling, with one hand on the hose while the house burns behind him.
Actually, for Andrew Neil to come out and say Keir Starmer is a liar, I think it's pretty profound.
I mean, he is. I mean, he's one of the great political minds, Andrew Neil. I've always been a fan for many, many decades, and it's worth reading that piece. And a lot of people, you and I can sit here and just go, oh, Starmer, you're a liar, and we can back up our arguments. What Neil has done in that piece is forensically taking apart so many things that Starmer and his chums have said. It is just brilliant, and they aren't.
This wasn't just a routine takedown. It was a reckoning. A moment where the public stopped seeing a leader and started seeing an actor struggling to stay in character. This wasn't about one policy failure. It was an emotional exposé. Starmer has no spine, no core beliefs, no real identity. Only whatever the pollsters tell him will work that week. And now, everyone is talking. But Starmer isn't listening. He's dismissing them. And that silence is making people even angrier. So what do you think? Is it time for Starmer to finally take leadership seriously? Or is it too late for him? Tell us in the comments below. And if you want more videos like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on British politics and the events that are shaping the country. Stay tuned. We've got more coming.